Welcome to Season 3 of the Healthy Living Doesn't Have to Suck podcast. I'm Melyssa with a Y, double board certified lifestyle medicine coach, size inclusive fitness specialist, author, and speaker dedicated to helping changemakers like you drop the struggle and create a healthy lifestyle you can love. This season, we're diving even deeper into conversations with guests from all arenas of the health and wellness industry, focused on making healthy living feel easy, enjoyable, and sustainable. Through my book, coaching community, online fitness studio, and corporate wellness packages, I'm here to provide the tools, strategies, and support you need to feel your best. Because when you show up as your healthiest self, you're unstoppable. All right, y'all, let's get to it. I can't believe it, but this is our final day of Lifestyle Medicine Week. And I don't know about you, but this special podcast series has just been absolutely amazing. I personally have learned so much from these guest experts that we have been able to share on the podcast. Some big names in lifestyle medicine, some amazingly knowledgeable humans that I had the pleasure of having these conversations with, to be able to share with all of you their words of wisdom, their strategies for success, just their passion for helping the world to live healthier and happier. So let's wrap up our Lifestyle Medicine Week series by talking about how can we create sustainable behavior changes with everything that we've learned from this podcast series. Welcome back, Changemakers. So excited to bring you our special guest today, Dr. Erica. We connected at the most recent Lifestyle Medicine Conference, where she was pulling on my heartstrings, talking about all things behavior change, positive reinforcement, all of the things that really tapped into my roots in animal training, but how that has also translated into my work in health coaching. So I was very pumped to hear her session, and I'm so grateful to have you here with us today, Dr. Erica.
Thank you.
Yeah, for our audience who's meeting you for the first time, do you mind sharing a little bit about your story and the work that you do?
Yes. Before I do, I love that you're saying welcome change makers. I think that is so perfect because we have to be the people who are actually taking action to make changes, right? Because these things don't just happen, which is why podcasts exist surrounding these topics.
Yes.
But change is hard, right? One of the
Yeah.
things that we're going to be talking about is hard to do things differently than you're used to, and changing habits and patterns and all of that. So, I'm a clinical behavior analyst. My degree is in behavioral psychology. And what that just means is that I'm an expert in studying behavior change, understanding the science of behavior, why we do things, why we don't do things, which is hugely applicable to the health space, right? But to give you a little bit more of a broad perspective, because behavioral science is applicable to both human and non-human animals, right? Anytime we're looking at behavior, we're looking at what makes a behavior more likely to happen or less likely to happen, and then how do we. And so when we take the science of behavior, which in the space that I work in is applied behavior analysis, we're looking at issues of social significance, right? We're looking at how do we promote more adaptive behavior, the things that you want to be doing, you want someone to be doing, and how to reduce those maladaptive behaviors, the things that you don't want to be doing or don't want someone else to be doing. Right now, I would say largely applied behavior analysis in the world of autism spectrum disorders, right? For treating problem behavior, giving individuals skills so they can live independently and kind of function in a healthy way in society that brings meaning and value into their life. I love that space. I've spent a lot of time working with individuals with autism. It's so rewarding. As I was kind of working in the autism space, I started out in this field a little over 20 years ago by working with kids with autism. And that's what kind of introduced me to learning about, hey, there's this whole science behind behavior and how we can help make positive changes. And so through that, these years ago, there's a lot of early intervention stuff going on, which is still going on right now. But over the years, now we're starting to see more teens and adults that are gained a lot of language skills and are now having to figure out, how do I make different decisions in my world and navigate friendships and things like this. So it kind of changed changes the kinds of things that you're working on with people, right? And one of those things is, how do we figure out how to be healthy in a world that doesn't really promote health? Um, and through working with people with autism, I was working with parents, and you just run into a whole host of different things that people experience, right? Different life stressors. I was in a position where I'm writing behavior plans for kids and I'm needing the parents to be able to do some of these components, but that's really hard, right? They're working two jobs, or it's a single parent, or it's a grandma that has maybe less mobility or is in charge of multiple kids. So we're always running into all of these barriers, right? There's all these things that we want to do in our life. And it's like, why do we fit all of these things in with the constraints that we have? What's really cool about behavior analysis in general is that it's applicable to so many different societal issues that we encounter. For one, I work in a mental health space. So I help people with depression and anxiety by making changes to what they're doing in their day-to-day life that can overall improve their quality of life. We can even branch out behavior analysis into an organizational space, right? Improving employee performance or safety of workers out on a job site. We can apply behavioral science to gerontology, the school system, substance use, sports performance. So it's really broad, and it's really cool to see all of the different ways that behavioral science can be applied in different areas. So, one of the things that I have come to focus on more recently, I've always kind of been passionate about health and wellness, whether that's their physical health. And about 3.5 years ago is when I started working in the mental health space. And then several years ago, I was introduced to lifestyle medicine. And once I learned about this and in the different pillars, and that the people listening to the podcast have just hopefully finished listening to the series of all of the pillars of lifestyle
Oh,
medicine. But
yeah.
once I kind of owned this thing that exists and it's really cool, I was like, I want to learn more about this, get involved with American College of Lifestyle Medicine, get certified. And so now, really, in my practice, as of the past probably year and a half ago, after I got certified, I really wanted to start helping people with chronic disease, right? Obesity, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, people that need bariatric surgery, need to make lifestyle changes. These are all things related to lifestyle changes in order to improve health. And what better of a person than somebody who specializes in behavior change to help people make those changes? So that's kind of a little about what has led me up to this point. I did spend some time in academia. I am back in academia a little bit, working in the lifestyle medicine department at Rosalind Franklin University of Medicine and Science, where we teach an introduction elective class, Introduction to Lifestyle Medicine, as well as the kind of mental health pillar.
That's so awesome. And we love to hear that there's more programs like that coming into this world that we're in, because one of the things that I appreciated about your presentation at the LM conference was just helping other providers understand the complexities around behavior change.
Yeah,
Because I think if we don't have that training, it's hard to realize, like, people have the intention to change, but it's bridging that gap between the intention and the actual action that they need to take to
absolutely.
make that change. So I think our paths are very similar in terms of discovering lifestyle medicine was like that perfect marriage of the
Yeah.
mental and the physical and the emotional health. So I love that so much.
And the whole body, right? I mean,
Yeah.
someone's coming to me with anxiety and depression. Maybe they're not sleeping, they're not eating right, they're not spending any time outdoors or connecting with friends. And then someone comes to see me for weight loss, and it's, oh, well, I'm dealing with all of these stressors over here. And so it's a combination. I don't think one exists in isolation from the other one.
Absolutely. So I think that is really integral into the conversation that we have about behavior change, because our minds and our bodies are so connected. And oftentimes, when we desire to make changes, our mind can often work against us. And so,
Absolutely.
better understanding behavior change will hopefully help the audience get some skills and some tools in their well being toolbox on how to
Yes.
implement these changes. What are some of the common things that you wish people maybe understood a little bit more about successful and sustainable behavior changes?
One thing that I would start with, Melissa, is that I think there's a lot of challenge around getting upset with ourselves for, like, why can't I do this? I know what I need to be eating. I know that I need to be going to the gym. Like, why don't I just do it? Right. And we're down on ourselves and there's a lot of judgment. And
Ooh, that inner critic is loud sometimes.
it is loud. And I think the first thing to understand is that inner critic, the reason that we're doing what we're doing is very normal. So when you think about humans, the primal human brain, our brain seeks pleasure and seeks to avoid pain at the very base level. And I know that sounds like I'm making this too simplified, but it's really important to understand because that's how we used to survive. But now, where food is in abundance and I don't have to work really hard to seek it out, right? And it's easy for me to avoid situations that make me feel uncomfortable. We're in this catch 22, right? Because the society that we now live in is designed to give us all of the pleasure that we want and avoid all of the pain that we want. But in
Right.
that, obviously, comes some negative consequences, as I'm sure a lot of the listeners have experienced, either themselves or friends and family members. So we're not really used to necessarily doing the hard thing, right? We have a lot of other hard things to do in our life. And so
So true.
adding on a layer of I have to cook this thing, and I bring that up because that's something that annoys me all the time, but just do it to do it. And when we're talking about health, there are so many different variables, right? I'm going to be craving something. There's going to be time constraints. There's going to be costs. There's going to be efforts. I'm dealing with feelings and thoughts and stressors. And I think one of the things that I love most is being able to give people tools for success living healthy, right? So you've just spent this series talking about the what's like, here are the things that are going to nourish your body. This is how you're going to better improve your health. And then that kind of leaves us with, how do I do that? I haven't been successful with trying these other things in the past. And so it's really important to step back and think about, am I doing what I'm doing because of feelings, right? Because it feels good. I want to
Yeah.
do it, or because I don't want to do it. So I'm not doing it, and shifting a mentality to your values, which was what I wanted to get to next.
Yeah, I love that so much because I totally relate. And people who have listened to the podcast or read the book know that I struggle with emotional eating still to this day. And it's just one of those things where, because it is easier to just try to numb out how you're feeling by overindulging in something that brings you the hyper palatability of
Yeah.
that burst of barbecue kettle potato chip. That's just the crunch. It all comes together in this like nice little dopamine boost. But then what are you left with after? And I
Yeah.
think that's something important to pay attention to. But I love that you brought up having to think about this journey differently, to
Yeah.
where we're not in an environment that supports the healthy choice as the easy choice.
Yeah.
So, what are some of those things that we can not only do for ourselves, but also how can we think about things in a way that's going to better support our success over time? And so you touched on something I bring up in the book too, which is values, and how a lot of times people don't even think about those, but it's so important to get clear on why are you doing what you're doing? How does it support the way that you want to live in the world, and then how can you start making those changes? So I'd love to hear your take on that too, and expanding on why values are so important.
Yeah. And this comes down to, we have to make decisions about things all throughout the day, and especially when it comes to health decisions. Like, maybe
Yeah.
we're not making financial decisions necessarily every day, but when we're deciding what to eat and when we're going to work out, are we going to do the outdoor walk? There's a lot that comes into it. And when we bring it down to how we're feeling in the moment, every time, so easy to, I feel like doing that or I don't feel like doing that, right? Any effort, I can just be on autopilot with that. And then my brain is happy, and then I am happy when my brain is happy. So when we're looking at values, sometimes when I'm talking with someone, like, okay, are you here? Why do you care about your health? Like, I want to be healthy, or, oh, I want to fit into that outfit, right? Okay, the great starting point.
Yeah.
But how is this like really at the core going to improve your quality of life, right? I like to have people think about, hey, is this going to help you be more mobile for traveling with your family, right? So that you don't have to be concerned about your discomfort traveling on the plane, or where you're going to be able to sit down, or are there going to be stairs, right? some of these values can be things that are so practical. Like, do you have kids? Do you have grandkids? Do you want to see them graduate, see them get married? Do you want to have the energy to be able to play with your grandkids instead of being the person that just kind of sits back and is not really engaging? And those things create lasting change for other people in your life too, right? Like having those memories and getting to share those experiences with you. And who wants to spend the last of their days hooked up to equipment in a hospital? And when I was working with ACLM is doing a type 2 diabetes remission group, and it was cool to work on doing a values exercise with some of the participants in that group because we were talking about surgeries, and one of the common things is I don't want to have a surgery, right? I don't want to
Yeah.
have open heart surgery or something like that. And on the flip side, there's I need to lose weight so I can have a surgery, right? Like knee replacement or something like that. And so when you're really thinking about those and how that is going to impact the quality of your life for the rest of your life, like it's so important to envision long term. And we have to bring that into right now when I'm making that choice, right? Like I'm choosing not to eat the ice cream right now because I care about being around for my grandchildren, right? And you bring that into right now. And sometimes I have people flip it around, right? Like, are you going to say eating ice cream is more important than seeing my grandkids grow?
Ugh.
That makes it hit home just a little bit. But sometimes that's what we need in the moment. And we're like, no, I gotta keep this going and keep it strong. And it's so easy to talk yourself out of it. It's, oh, I'm just doing this one, but it's about all of the one individual choices that builds up to something lifelong.
Yeah, and when those choices are aligned with your values, it's so much more fulfilling. And it's hard to keep track of that when you're looking at other measures of progress. Because I
Yeah.
know I've worked with people who, like, if they're only relying on the scale as their like victory measure, they're
Yeah.
going to get so disappointed along the way, even though their body
Absolutely.
composition might be changing, even though they're engaging in behaviors that are better for their health. You measure it. And I love that you echoed something Mike Stack said in our episode about physical activity, where he was like, I've never met someone who is going to give up on their grandkids, and really
Mhm.
thinking about that
Love it.
purpose and that
Yeah.
why behind it, which I love that you tapped into that too, because now we have lifestyle medicine, which is the what, we have the why, which is our values. So now we need the how. Dr. Erica, can you help our audience with the how and feeling more empowered around actually making these changes?
Yeah, you don't have time to go through all of it, but I do hope to share some things with everybody that's listening. As I've been doing some presentations, participating on podcasts, and each time I'm writing about this material and rethinking about it and putting some things together, one of the things that I think can underlie the most change, and you talked about a social connection pillar, is community surrounding all of these aspects of health. Not only is social connection just healthy for you in general, right? But we are social creatures, especially around eating, right? This is one of the biggest barriers that people have. And so sometimes we're so stuck in our own social circle that we're currently in, which is fine. And keep your friends and family, like these people that really
Right.
mean a lot to you, but add people to your family, your social circle, right? Like with this day and age, with groups on Facebook, you got to get connected to other people who are sharing your values, who are on this journey together so that you don't feel like you're alone in what you're doing, and incorporating people into all of these choices that you're making. You want to invite people over, right? This is fun. We're all hanging out. Invite them over to your house where you're either making the things or saying, hey, the potluck has these rules about what is going to be brought, because then you can still enjoy a meal, not have to deal with the, oh, but I shouldn't eat that, but it looks good. That's like what I like about ACLM, right? They have the whole buffet out and I can just walk in and eat whatever and I don't even have to think about it. This is behavior change is about creating an environment that you can be successful in. Adam said he was at a plant strong retreat that I went to, and I think he said, make your environment look like your goals. And
Ooh.
that's what you have to do. So it's like, if I'm bringing Oreos into the house, how am I making my environment look like my goals? I'm not, right?
We're
Like I'm
not.
working against myself. And obviously, like we need strategies for not doing that because we're in the grocery store and
Mm.
that's when Instacart comes in really handy. Don't even
Yes.
be in it in the first place. Removing some of those visual distractions. That's something that I was talking about last week in a presentation that I was giving because our eyes pair things with feelings real fast,
Mhm.
especially with food, right? This is why advertising is so effective because you
Oh, yeah.
see something and in the past seeing that and ingesting it has been combined so your body is blue, right? And not having those things anywhere near you is like one of the best things you can do for yourself, but it's really hard. And I usually try to encourage people have some things that you enjoy, just don't have those super favorite things, right? There are lots of different types of chocolate out there, and there's one kind of chocolate that I just am going to eat the whole thing in a sitting. And then another one I buy because I can have some pieces and it satisfies a little. I wanted to have something sweet and I'm good with that. You
Yep.
got you can't be no potato chip. No, nobody's eating just their one little serving of potato chips, okay?
I know.
Unless you're bringing it to work. I try to like portion out things that yeah. And that
Yes.
works perfectly. If I only bring the 3 Oreos to work, then I'm good, but then they're at home.
Exactly. And
Um,
I think that speaks to, as humans, we're funny in the way that if we tell ourselves we can't have something, there's almost like this inner rebel that comes out that's,
yeah.
ooh, but I want it even more
Yeah,
now that
you're
I'm telling
fighting
myself I
it.
can't have it.
No, yeah. I'll do a plug here for if your listeners have not heard of acceptance and commitment therapy. This is a good one to look into. I know there's a lot of types
Yes.
that's what I do, ACT.
I love it.
And learning how to be with the feeling that is coming up instead of fighting it. Because it's like when you try not to think about something, you're actively thinking about it. When you try
Yes.
not to feel something, you're actively engaging and giving attention to the feeling. And if you're just like, hey, what's up? Let's hang out. Here's this feeling. Here are my thoughts. Like, they'll go away at some point in time. We call it, I don't know if you've heard of urge surfing, but that's something
Oh,
that I work
yeah.
on with clients. Yeah. Give a little audio recording to kind of move through that. It's really hard. And one thing that I do to say is like everyone struggles with cravings. Like I am a healthy weight. I see this and it's not because I just don't have cravings. I have all of these things that I recommend to my clients because it's still hard, right? I try to set up for success. And that's why being proactive is your best friend. The buying the things you want to have in the house and taking that time and energy to do that meal preparation ahead of time because Lord knows you're not going to cook it when you get home from work. Nobody
Hmm.
wants to be chopping up stuff from scratch. It's so funny when I'm on Instagram and it's, oh, this super easy recipe. And then they're cutting up like 6 different vegetables. And I'm like,
No.
no, but maybe if I already had them cut up, it would be fine. But I was going to get back to the connection with community. We touched
Yeah.
on food, right? The people that you're hanging out with. Find somebody to go to the gym with. If you don't have somebody to go to the gym with or go on a walk with, join the group fitness classes. It makes it more fun. You're going to make more connections with people who value aspects of health. And that's changing your environment, right? Like people are your environment as well as like the things and physical objects in your environment are. So you always want to be paying attention to all of those things. And there's so many ways to get connected with people.
Ugh, I always feel so validated in conversations like this because I actually share some ACT strategies in the book, and one of those
Oh,
is
good,
urge
good.
surfing. Yeah, and there's so much that you shared that I think it's so helpful for people to hear. Maybe for the first time, maybe it's repetition, but just that getting clear on your values because that's going to help guide your choices. Because if you don't have that mapped out, we're just going to be wandering around through life. So having your values gives
Yeah,
you a nice sense of direction so that your choices can align with it. And then next is that social support and finding that community of people who can help you and
absolutely.
support you and who understand as you're striving to make those goals. And I'm going to do a shameless plug here because I do have a coaching community that goes along with the book called the Changemaker Collective. So I'm just going
Love
to
it.
place that there in case any listeners are looking for that tribe of people. We got you.
Yes, you need a tribe.
Yeah. And then just touching on some of the feelings behind things and setting your environment up to where either those visual cues aren't there, or you're able to have an accountability buddy to help support you and keep you motivated. And it's just all of this comes together so beautifully into there's a lot of things that we can do to help ourselves feel more empowered around tackling some of these more difficult behavior
Yeah.
changes. It's just about being really intentional and oftentimes trying different things and having to explore these strategies to see
Mhm.
what really resonates with you. So I obviously love this conversation so much. And I knew I would. I was like, Dr. Erica and I were so aligned and all the things. So I'm just really happy that we get to share our time with you today. And for our listeners who are now like starting to feel like, okay, yeah, like I can do this. When it comes to maybe some of your favorite resources or anything that you recommend for people looking to engage with that first step of starting to make some change or to think about what their healthy lifestyle looks like. What are some of the things that you have either done for yourself or that you've seen work really well for clients and patients to help just get them started on that how piece of the puzzle?
Yeah, definitely the first part is when you're feeling really motivated and hyped up, that's not the time to set your grandiose goals because then you're gonna fail in the next 48 hours and then it's all going out the window, right?
Yep.
Like, but this is what we do because we have this sense of I can take on the world because I'm feeling empowered because I just listened to this podcast. And that is what we want for the list,
Yes.
right? We want you to get excited.
Yes. And
Yes. Oh my gosh. Start small. Start smaller than you think that you want because you can always ramp it up. The goal here is getting behavior going. So I'll give an example of okay, your brain is obviously going to be like, I'm going to the gym 5 days a week. I don't usually go to the gym, but I'm ready and I'm down. So here we go. Monday. First of all, don't wait till Monday. Don't ever just start tomorrow or now.
yeah.
People like the beginning of the month or the no, just start now. And don't wait till when. Don't wait
Yeah.
till when this thing is done in your life because then there's going to be another thing. Just start it while you got it. So you're like, oh, I want to go to the gym 5 days a week and I'm going to do this 30 minutes on the elliptical and I'm going to be lifting these weights and that is great and you should do that. But your first goal should just be just show up to the gym and do something. Walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes or whatever. If you feel like walking more, great. But I recommend smaller, more frequent goals rather than like, oh, I'm going to go one day this week. I'll offer that to people if that's where they want to start. But if you have a smaller, achievable goal, it's going to reduce the effort that your brain perceives. And this can be applied no matter where you are in your journey because I do it too. I usually go to the gym like 4 days a week. And on those days where I'm just like, I don't want to do it, right? I'm like, you know what? Just we're going to use less weight. That's fine. I'm only going to do one set. I'm going to do fewer reps. I'm going to do shorter time on the elliptical. It doesn't matter what it is. The goal is just get there. I usually give people this visual, but you have this kind of mental block. And the more that when we approach it and we're like, and then we turn around, right? We just get stuck running away from the wall. So I'm like, you don't have to leap over it. Just push into it just a little bit. Just do a little bit of what your brain is going about. And that's how you start to empower yourself is by pushing through that just a little bit. Like we're not asking anybody to jump into the deep end, right? I want you to step into the water. Like you've got to take that first step. And that's what's hard, right? But that's why setting yourself up for success is going to help you do these things. Because I like to use that saying, if you always do what you always do, you always get what you always get. So
Yeah.
you have to change something, but some things are easier to change to then make the hard thing easier to change.
Yeah. And I think that's such a powerful example of really leaning into focusing on the behavior instead of the thoughts and the feelings. And
Yeah.
really just a great example of how you coach yourself through pushing past those feelings and thoughts that try to hold you back and just doing the behavior. It might not look ultimately like how you want it to look, but it's something, and something is better than nothing. So really, Nike had it right with just do it, and that whole slogan. Mel Robbins and her 5-second rule. It's don't let your thoughts stop. Yes. Oh my gosh. If you guys aren't watching on YouTube, Dr. Erica just whipped out a like pamphlet that has the Nike logo. Says just do it, and it has all these words in a word cloud of like without motivation, do it scared, do it without hope. Like it's so true. All of those feelings are just going to come along for the ride as you work to engage that behavior.
It's so funny, but when I don't want to go to the gym, I'm literally like, okay, come on, I don't want to. And I love using the word and. I don't want to, and I'm going to the gym. Not one, I would go to the gym, but I'm like, I'm just feeling a little tired. Do less if you're feeling tired, right? I just want people to do a little thing, because once you start doing something, you can build on it. It's getting the ball rolling. And we've all experienced that in different ways. And I went to another good talk at ACLM, and I'm feeling so bad because I can't remember who the speaker was, but he was talking about the habits, and I liked his idea.
The clicker example?
I don't know. It was the tie your new habit to an old habit.
Oh, yes.
You forget to take your pills. We'll put them next to your toothbrush, and because you're brushing your teeth already. And that's really helpful too, because a lot of it's forgetting. And I can't tell you how many people I work with where I'm like, let's get out our phone and put a reminder in our phone. Let's set an alarm for that. And I do that. You should see my alarms on my phone.
Oh, same. Yes.
Because our brain has not caught up to all of the crazy things we have to remember.
It's so true. And I think that there's something behind like the emergence of, what am I trying to say here? Not the emergence, but just the greater recognition of neurodiversity. And sometimes habits are harder to establish for people whose brains are all over the place, all over the time. I know I relate to that. So I live by my calendar. I live by reminders, whether they're programmed on my phone or written out. And I do have to rely on some of those life hacks to help me to follow through with those strategies. And I'll share a quick example, because I was stuck in a snooze habit since I think I was just so exhausted by life towards the end of 2024, because we had just had the wedding and then the holidays hit. And so I was like giving myself so much space and so much grace. And then as New Year's rolled around, I was like, okay, like I'm ready. Let's get back into the routine. And the routine was not happening. The routine was I would get woken up by my cat at 5:45 a.m. And so I was like, okay, let me go ahead and start my day. But I would just like start to get back in bed, and I kept doing that. And so then the routine became,
that is so comfy.
Yeah, the routine became, I wake up, I feed my cat, I go back to bed. And I was missing out on so much productivity. I noticed I was more fatigued throughout the day. My energy levels just tanked. And it's all because I was snoozing. So I had to really rely on what I knew worked well for me in the past was having accountability. So I would wake up for 6 a.m. co-working calls with a small group of other female entrepreneurs that were around like different parts of the world. But that group disbanded. So I was like, oh my gosh, what can I do now? And so I found an online co-working space called Flown that I could host my own sessions, because I was signing up for the ones that they had, and I didn't know anyone personally on the call. So I was like, they're not going to miss me if I don't show up. So I really had to tap into coaching myself through that to be like, okay, Melyssa, you know that you show up when other people are relying on you. So you have to be the one to set up the call and host the call. And it has worked beautifully. And now I'm back in that routine where I'm not even tempted to go back to bed. And it's maybe been like 2.5 weeks that I've been using this. It just goes to show that coaches need coaching too.
Yes. Yeah, I wrote an article on therapists need therapists. Yes, because we're all human and we all struggle with things. Might be different things and in different ways and to different degrees, but we all struggle with things. Yeah. But I love the example that you gave, because it perfectly shows how you set up your environment to help the behaviors occur. And that's what we have to do. And I think sometimes we get so stuck on this barrier, and the goal is don't let that barrier like become an excuse. Try to get into a problem solving mode, right? Try to figure out, okay, if I'm forgetting, how can I help myself remember, right? Or if I'm tired, a different time of day. Can I watch my TV shows while I'm on the treadmill? There's just always these little things around. And if can't think of something, you have a coaching group. I provide one-on-one consultations.
Yep.
So people have resources, and especially with the groups, with individual consultation, that's all accountability too, like you were just talking about. And it's so cool how much more we'll do when there's a time and a place set up for it, right? You have to put those commitments in place. I know personal trainers are expensive, but like it's going to get you there. It's
Yeah.
going to get you there. And then you're going to learn how to do the things. Your body's going to get used to it. And then you can probably do it on your own, but it's a good start.
Yeah. And I think it's so helpful for people to lean into those tools and those resources that can support them through that initial trying to build that momentum. Because what's the
Totally.
whole phrase about inertia? An object at rest stays at rest unless
Yeah.
acted upon by an external force. So what is that external force going to be for you to get
Yeah.
your ass in gear, to overcome that obstacle and push through it? Because once you get to the other side of that, it does eventually get easier. It's
Yeah.
never maybe going to be your default mode, but it uses less brain power. It becomes more habitual. It's part of your routine. So it does take less of that effort and energy. And ultimately, I think that's the place that so many of us just want to get to, is where it doesn't have to suck. It doesn't have to be so hard. So I really appreciate everything that you've shared with our audience today. And I know people are going to want to follow up with you and be able to see where they can stay connected. So where are some of the best places online for them to look out for you?
Okay, that's a tricky question because I am working on a podcast series right now that hasn't been rolled out. But the podcast is going to be From Couch to Kale, Strategies for Healthy Living. I don't know if that's better than yours, Melyssa, because that's really up there.
I don't know. I think people that are listening to this podcast will love that title.
Yes. And I got to be creative with things. We don't want to be dry and boring. So I'm actually working on that podcast with a lady from Sweden, and she's a health coach, and we've been kind of idea sharing and putting together some topics to help people figure out what do you do when this barrier and how you can plan ahead. And hopefully that'll be some motivation for people. Right now, I get the best way to connect with me would be either to reach out to me via my website, which is ericajowett.com. I'm sure you can put that
I will have that linked. Yeah.
And then reaching out to me directly by email, ejhirst@gocurus.com. I won't spell that because you'll probably outline that, because we don't have a homepage, landing page yet for where we're going to be posting the podcast. But definitely, if anyone is interested in some individual consultation, I really try to personalize the strategies that I'm sharing with people. So you can come to me, and it can be about your cat, right? That's not like a common thing that I'm dealing with, but we can work around whatever your barrier is, right? And I can help you out with that, because I think that it's just sometimes helpful to pull resources from other people, especially when your brain is just tired of trying to figure things out.
So true. And yes, I will have all of that linked in the show notes. And yeah, stay tuned for that podcast. I'm going to be so excited to tune in, and I'll definitely have to make an announcement whenever it goes live, so that way people can tune in and listen.
Yeah. I know we're getting close to wrap up time. Can I talk about one other thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Flexibility.
Say it again.
When I learned about whole food plant-based, I was like, this and nothing else, right? Do you know what I'm talking about here? Because you're like,
guilty.
This is the best way, so this is how you have to do it. That is not sustainable. Maybe there's 5 people that can do that, but no, you have to be okay with making this sustainable for you. Like, I'll give an example of what I do. Okay. So like the alternative meats, right? You've got like the Daring chicken or Beyond or whatever. Yeah. It's processed. It's not as healthy as the whole food. But if I'm making this bean and rice dish, I really like to make jambalaya. I like to get the Daring Cajun, chicken. And I just rip up a couple pieces and put it in there, and it just makes it feel more just like a whole comfort meal. Everything's going to be okay, even though I'm having like that little bit, right? And this is coming from somebody who likes rules and to strictly abide by rules. So it's a little out of my comfort zone when I am like, we're just going to be a little more flexible. But you have to think about what is sustainable. If you take one word away from this, it's, is that going to be sustainable? And that's another reason for taking those small steps, right? Because if you just try to jump into something, you're going to create something that's probably not going to be sustainable, at least for right now. You want to get yourself into it.
Yeah, and that has been a common theme through, I think, every single one of these episodes that we've recorded is that emphasis on start small, because that is what is going to help set yourself up for success over the long game. Because sure, anyone can do the short-term trends and fads and diets and whatnot.
30 days.
Yeah, and sure, you might see some cool results in that short term, but like those don't last. And that's not what we're striving for here. We're really looking at that bigger picture and how that can be built in. And I think that flexibility and learning how to give yourself that flexibility also helps with those slip ups and those full on backslides that we sometimes have when it comes to reverting to those old patterns of behavior, because that's what's familiar. So I love that you brought that up. And it's such a powerful message between everything that has been shared. Oh my gosh. Absolutely love it. And I'm not really sure if we need to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because I think people can gather the answer from our conversation. But I've asked all the guest episodes, when it comes to the message, healthy living doesn't have to suck, how do you bring that into your life and or work?
In addition to doing things with other people, which I think is great, some of the stuff that I like to, when I'm kind of getting in a exercise lull and it's just feeling mundane, I'm gonna buy a new water bottle, I'm gonna buy a new workout clothes, and it just pumps up my step a little bit. And I think another thing, healthy living is easy when you're feeling motivated, and helping yourself feel motivated is also something that you can do in the sense, like sometimes when I'm just feeling like kind of lull about my whole food, plant-based, like healthy lifestyle, I watch Game Changers and I'm like, yeah, look at these athletes. Oh, look at how they're powered by plants. And then and I'll watch it again, and listening to podcasts like this, like there are so many resources. So when you're feeling in a lull, just pull it up on your computer and watch it. That's a perfect example of using a very easy strategy, pulling up a video on your computer to do something that's hard, make it back to the gym or go to bed on time, something that helps you feel motivated. So I like kind of inserting those things, but definitely for me also finding people and things that I can be involved in that put me like in contact with reading about this stuff, talking about this stuff, right? Keeping it top of mind, so it's not just like a thing that you do on the
right. And what I'm hearing as you're sharing that is like finding ways to reignite that motivation and to tap back into that meaning and purpose behind making those changes. So tapping back into the why, it all brings it together. Oh, Dr. Erica, I know you and I could chat forever and a day about this stuff. Maybe we'll have to have part 2 in the future where we take a deeper dive into behavioral science. But for now,
that be fun.
Yes. And I think this was the perfect way to wrap up our Lifestyle Medicine Week series. So grateful to have you here and sharing your knowledge and your time with us. And Changemakers, you know how to get in touch with Dr. Erica now. So hit up the show notes and get in touch. And we're just so grateful for you being here.
Yes. And good luck to everybody who's watching and or listening. Just remember that you can do this. Like, you just have to remind yourself you can do it. Like, it's hard and you can do it.
I love that. What a perfect way to wrap up not only this episode, but this special series. So Changemakers, until next time, keep it real, stay positive, and go take some value-aligned action, shall we? As a quick, friendly reminder, the information in these podcasts are always strictly for educational purposes only. As always, thanks so much for listening, Changemakers. And if you can please remember to head to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe, rate, and review. It will help this podcast reach other changemakers so they can start listening and tuning in each week. As a bonus, if you've been wanting to make healthier choices but don't feel like you have the time or even know where to start, make sure you check out my Lifestyle Medicine Mini Makeover. It's a free 7-day email series designed to help you take small, powerful steps toward better health that can fit into your busy lifestyle. Each day, you'll get an email that educates you on one of the lifestyle medicine pillars, along with a simple mini challenge to put what you learned into action. If you're ready to level up your health with lifestyle medicine, then sign up now at healthylivingdoesn'thavetosuck.com/makeover and let's do this together. By the end of this week-long challenge, you will have success in showing yourself that healthy living doesn't have to suck.